First things first, all options are on the table for the Jets with Sam Darnold and the number 2 pick. But would trading him be a mistake? Hold on, Brandon. It's official. The NFL's plans for a 17th game are set. So which record is as good as broken? And how about this? LeBron recruiting Steph to come join the Lakers.
What?
Wouldn't that be a match? Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wild, LeBron and Steph, Steph and LeBron. Nick, it's got a nice little ring to it, no?
It would be a great way for LeBron to celebrate year 20 by helping Steph get another ring, because otherwise Steph probably ain't getting another ring. Let's be honest.
Steph helping him to get another ring.
That's nice of LeBron.
We'll get to Nick's fantasy team of LeBron and Steph in just a second. But we got to start right here. Alabama's pro day yesterday. Quarterback Mac Jones on full display, climbing up in those draft boards, throwing in front of GMs and coaches. Of course, the scene that went viral, the Mac Jones miss on that deep ball. We watched it all day yesterday. And then Bill Belichick with the subsequent head shake. Can't say for sure what Belichick was actually reacting to, but it sure looked like it was that throw, and the internet had a field day. Meanwhile, over in Columbus, you had Justin Fields putting on an absolute show, including the 4.44 and the 40-yard dash without the shirt, because you don't want anything to slow you down. Said after he was mad he couldn't get into the 4 threes, Brandon. Matt Miller tweeting, one scout told him Justin Fields' day was the best quarterback workout he had seen in a long time. All right, Brandon, we'll start with you. You took in every last second of all of this. How much was your opinion swayed by Mac Jones and Justin Fields' pro days yesterday?
Oh, I mean, he just solidified it, and that being Justin Fields. There's no debate anymore, Nick. Wilds, Jenna, there's no debate. This dude needs to be off the board when the Jets are picking at the number 2 position. We're talking about a 4.40 from the quarterback position in the modern football era, where we're asking the quarterback to be able to move and get outside the pocket. We're also asking him to play a major role in a run game. This dude had a lot of zip on his ball, had a lot of power. He threw with accuracy. He showed exactly what he does best. And obviously, these are scripts, so it's meant to put these guys in the best position and highlight what they do well. But he did his thing. You know, he could have went out there and bombed. He didn't do that. We're talking about leadership out of this world. He was the reason why we saw Big Ten football. Think about that. One guy was the reason why we saw Big Ten football. Him. New York. We need a guy like this to come into that market, and I'll call Brian Castillo. I'll call Kimberly Martin. I'll call Rich Cimini, and I'll tell him take it easy on this kid. We got our quarterback, guys. Don't let this guy come in and you guys start crushing him in camp or after week 1. Now, Kimberly's great. Kimberly's fine. Brian's fine. Rich Cimini, you're the one that got to call and make sure that we're going to protect this kid when we draft him at the number 2 pick. So, look, this is our guy. And did we forget, Nick, about the Sugar Bowl, 22 for 28? All right, 385 yards.
6 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns, 1 interception.
As many touchdowns as incompletions. That's right. No, listen, I agree with everything you said, except for the Jets component, because I don't know who the Jets are going to take at number 2. I just know they're going to take the wrong guy, and so that means it's not going to be Justin Fields. I do think that there might be, because when I'm watching this workout, and I'm watching him roll out, and I'm watching him throw on the move, you know what I'm thinking to myself? Man, oh man, that sure looks like the perfect quarterback for that Kyle Shanahan offense. And you might say, Nick, Matt Ryan was in that offense. I understand Matt Ryan's not mobile, but it also made Matt Schaub into a Pro Bowl level quarterback with a ton of bootlegs off the play action. And the one time Kyle Shanahan has been able to try to pick his own quarterback, he traded way up. I know he wasn't the GM, got RG3, and for a year before his body was ruined by injury, RG3 is a mobile dual-threat quarterback, had, statistically speaking, the best rookie season we had up to that point ever seen from the quarterback position. So I know there's a lot of smoke with the Niners and Mac Jones, I feel like that is likely at this point a smoke screen, because I can't see how if the Jets pass on Justin Fields, the Niners don't take him at 3. And as far as Mac Jones goes, Wilds, I went all the way back to November of this football season and read the draft reports. Kuiper and McShay had a whole article talking about, hey, Mac Jones, if he doesn't go back to school, might be a first or second round pick. And I'm not trying to say you can't improve, because Joe Burrow obviously skyrocketed up the charts. But I've never understood how all of a sudden Mac Jones is potentially a top 5 pick when a few months ago the people were thinking he might be the 55 pick. So Mac Jones was fine. Pro days aren't usually overly impressive, but Justin Fields is the story, and the fact that he's always been a top 3 quarterback in this class is the story.
Okay, so the only tangible data point that came out of the pro day was that Justin Fields is as fast as RG3. All the rest of it felt like, an Instagram filter, like you're gonna look good. You've got no defense, you're wearing a pair of basketball shorts, and you're throwing it to your favorite receivers in your own building. So, Brandon, I don't know how anyone could have bombed. You said, he could have gone out there and bombed. When's the last time we've heard of anyone bombing their pro day? Everybody looked good. The only bit of controversy we had was the Bill Belichick head shake. So I think the only tangible data point is that Justin Fields is way faster than it feels like the scouting report was out on him. That now you can put him into that Jets offense if you want, even though I still think they're going to go with Zach Wilson, and he'll give you a dynamic component that the other guys won't.
All right, so we always have this conversation on the show, and you guys never understand why I'm always like, man, there's so many guys overrated in the NFL. Some dudes, you just walk into the locker room, you're like, this guy made it, right? Because they don't pass the eye test. You don't need to put on a helmet. You don't need to put on pads. We don't need the thud. We don't need to hit to see who's who. We can go out there, routes on air, and we can see who is good and who's not. This dude is phenomenal. He's sensational. So I don't need to see him in a helmet. I don't need to see him in a game. We already saw all of that. We knew that. He just solidified his position yesterday as the number 2 quarterback in the draft. No more debate. Nick, also, think about this. You talked about, this is the perfect situation for San Francisco. Well, you know who the Jets' offensive coordinator is? It's Mike LaFleur. Yeah, coach from Green Bay, his baby brother. He's been the passing game coordinator under Coach Shanahan. So what do you think what he's gonna do with this kid? He's gonna put him in the best position. The same offense that we saw run in San Francisco, in Atlanta, in the Texans, in Cleveland. That's the offense they're gonna have and with the Jets, with a little mix up of some West Coast. So that's what you're going to see. And I'm excited to see it. We can't miss on this kid. Please do not miss on this kid, Jets.
Wow, you're really
well, listen, I think what Mike LaFleur is going to do is wave goodbye to Justin Fields as the Jets are selecting Zach Wilson. But I might be wrong. And by the way, Zach Wilson has looked phenomenal as well. And some people are trying to argue that he actually should be neck and neck with Trevor Lawrence for the number 1 pick. So I do think the Jets, and it's odd to say this, are in an advantageous position where it would appear there are 3 quarterbacks in this draft that most people love. We know Trevor Lawrence is going 1. They will have their pick of those 2. I think Justin Fields is the right pick. But if the Jets take him, by definition, that means he was the wrong pick. So I'm rooting for Justin Fields, but if he goes number 2, then I will have to assign him the fact that he's the wrong pick. Because the Jets haven't picked the right quarterback since Joe Namath, and I don't even know how the draft worked back then. So I'm rooting for Justin Fields, Brandon, which means I'm rooting for him to go to San Francisco. Because that's what's best for him. You can grab your Jets helmet.
Back to Wilds real quick.
Is it signed by Christian Hackenberg?
Yeah,
Christian Hackenberg. Wilds, if a guy, I can look in the locker room and see a guy put on his socks, and I'll tell you if he can play or not. I just need to see you put on your socks. Some dudes like, man, this dude can't even put his socks on right. Can't play
and
ball.
It kind of looked to me like there was a reason Mac Jones wasn't shirtless. It kind of looked like Mac Jones, there was a reason he wasn't shirtless, and a reason Justin Fields
Brady wasn't shirtless. And it worked out just fine for him, so shirts are okay. The plans are in place for the NFL's 17th game now, so which superstar will be breaking records with an extra Sunday to shine? We'll talk about that next. First things first.
We're tough people, man. Compazzo says I'm here for it.
We're tough people. The NFL announced the matchup for the newly created 17th regular season game. Get an extra week. And we got a bunch of good ones on deck. You got Russ versus Ben. That'll be great. Kyler versus Baker. That'll be fun. But Brandon, the most intriguing new game created by the 17-game schedule is blank.
Ooh, so many good games. Week 17. Got to get used to saying that. Nick, I got to go with the Rams versus the Ravens. Could this potentially be a Super Bowl matchup preview? Could it potentially be? We know who these guys are on the defensive side. Now you insert Matthew Stafford in that offense with little boy wonder. Come on, man. This team can go to another level. Now, the gap between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs are huge, but we have a whole offseason. Could they potentially close that gap? Could they ascend to the next level? If so, this could be a preview of the Super Bowl.
Well, listen, I love that game, and I love even more that you were kind enough, since I go second on this, to not pick the actual game that is the right answer, that everyone knows is the right answer, Packers and Chiefs. Rodgers Mahomes Part 1. We should have gotten Rodgers Mahomes Part 1 in the Super Bowl last year, but Matt LaFleur screwed it up. Aaron Rodgers couldn't take advantage of Brady's 3 second-half interceptions, and I'm still not going to be over it. Chiefs would have killed him. They would have killed him, but it doesn't matter. That game's at Arrowhead, or whatever the hell they just renamed Arrowhead to, and so Packers at Chiefs, Rodgers Mahomes Part 1. We should see it multiple times over the years. That's what I'm most excited for.
Oh, I'll tell you what I'm most excited for. Great franchise, on the way back, spend a lot of money. Some call them America's team. We'll be playing the Dallas Cowboys in Foxborough. Great game, Dak versus Jimmy G. Cowboys at Patriots.
Jimmy G. Oh, this guy.
Stop this.
Gotta figure it out. All right, let's stay with that 17th game. So the biggest gift of all, perhaps, the matchup we almost had in the Super Bowl. Nick laid it out for you. Packers, Chiefs. Rodgers, Mahomes, he wanted to see it. That stage is now set. Brandon, though, the most intriguing individual matchup created by the 17th game is blank.
Yeah, you guys know I'm a wide receiver. I think it's the most important position on the offensive side of the on the offensive side, right? But I also know that the game is won in the trenches. Offensive line versus defensive line. So the most intriguing matchup to me is Seattle's offensive line versus the Pittsburgh Steelers' defensive line. Now, Russell Wilson says he's not protected. Let's see if they can bolster this offensive line through the draft, maybe late in free agency, to help against a freaking phenomenal front seven. So we're going to see a lot come week 17 in that matchup, Nick, between that offensive line and defensive line.
So I'm going with one that I'm excited for because it'll be a great football game, but also because it'll be great for this show. And we don't know when these 17th games are going to be placed in the schedule, but I do know this. The Monday following this matchup, this show is going to be red hot. Kyler versus Baker. Kyler's Brandon's guy. Yep. I like him fine. Baker's my guy. Brandon hates him with the passion of 1,000 suns. We're going to get to see him match up against each other. I am so excited to watch a great young star quarterback and Kyler Murray play each other. Oh, it's going to be great. You've got one team that last year. One team that. Oh, yeah. Too early prediction. Let me hear it, Brandon. Too early prediction.
Too early prediction. I'm going with Kyler. Yeah. I'm going with Kyler.
Oh, yeah. Shocker. Shocker. On one side of the coin, you've got a team that won double-digit games, went to the playoffs, won a playoff game. On the other side of the coin, you have a team that everyone loved despite the fact they were 500 and they have a mediocre at best coach. But Kyler tries to carry them along with Nuke. So I'm excited. Kyler versus Baker, whatever week it is, that's the one I want to see.
Let's go.
Okay. I've got a sad answer. It's Russ's wish list versus reality. That's right, Bears at Raiders. You can start writing your columns right now if you work for either of the newspapers covering those teams. Two teams that were on Russ's wish list that couldn't get it done. So maybe there's a snowball's chance that Russ still ends up in Chicago with some draft day maneuvering. But overall, this will be the Russ wish list game. But it doesn't have Russ in it.
I like it. It does not have Russ in it. You are correct. He'll be watching it. On to Derrick Henry, maybe. He ran over 2,000 yards last season. Now he's got one extra game, try and break the single-season rushing record. Brandon Marshall, the player most likely to break a record with an extra game, is blank.
Well, the record we're talking about is, we got to go back to 2012. This player did the unthinkable. This dude went for 1,946 yards receiving in a season. That was Megatron, Calvin Johnson, playing for the Detroit Lions. There's one player that's going to do it this year. I see him work out every single day. Nick, can you guess what receiver that will be? Wows, anybody? Throw me one name out there, and I'm going to tell you who it's going to be right now. Can y'all guess?
DeAndre Hopkins.
You saw the Google Doc?
DeAndre Hopkins.
No, it's not DeAndre Hopkins. You got A.J. Green on the other side. A.J. Green's going to take a bulk of that. It's going to be Stephon Diggs.
Julian Edelman?
Stephon Diggs, oh my goodness. Josh Allen. Stop it, please. Please. He got Josh Allen at his quarterback. Look at that dude wearing number 17. Throwing that ball to this dude right here, phenomenal. That's the record that's going to go down. Megatron's record in 2012, Nick. All right, 1,946 yards will be broken this year by that man right there.
Wow. Mitch Trubisky's going to have a huge season then. Some fantasy football players add Mitch Trubisky. All right. So I've got bad news for our dear beloved colleague and multimedia icon and Pro Football Hall of Famer Michael Strahan. By the end of this year, both of Strahan's trademarks gone. I don't know if you saw it, but Strahan closed the gap in his teeth. Trademark teeth gap, gone. Okay, but at least he still has the sack record. Oh, not so fast, my friend. Myles Garrett for those deadly Cleveland Browns. Guess what the Browns are going to have this year? A bunch of leads. Guess what they're not going to have? Playing in tsunamis. Guess what's not going to happen? Garrett getting hurt. Myles Garrett, extra game, 23 sacks. Strahan, no more teeth gap, no more sack record. All he has is 11 television shows and probably $400 million. So I think he'll be okay. But Myles Garrett taking Strahan's sack record with the extra game and with the Browns playing with a bunch of leads.
Brandon, what do you think about this one? Because I felt bad giving it to anyone except Michael Thomas because it's Michael Thomas's record, and now you got Jameis with the LASIK, and now you're all in on Jameis.
Right.
He's got the record right now with 149 receptions in a year. He would have to average 9 a game to get to 153 if he plays all 17. Do you like Michael Thomas for the reception record?
No, that might be a record that may not be broken again. It takes a special person and a special combination between wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end to break that. I don't like Michael Thomas breaking his own record. I'm sorry, Wilds. It's hard. It's hard. Marvin Harrison held it down for so long. Thomas. Yeah, Peyton, man, it takes a lot. Yeah. I mean, I think he can go for 120. He got Jameis Winston.
Not bad.
Oh, can I read the? Can I get another shot at this answer? He got Jameis Winston.
Who said that to you?
Oh, you said that? Oh, I forgot. Oh, my goodness.
Hold on. Get it out.
Hold on. Can I just tell America what just happened? Wait, can I tell America what just happened?
He processed it. We watched it process in real time. That's what happened.
Jenna, and what happened was the logical part of Brandon's brain answered for the first 25 seconds. And then the emotional part caught up and was like, wait, my heart's in on Jameis. But I've just given all this analysis as to why it's not going to happen.
I'm all in on Jameis.
So eventually the heart overtook the logic.
Real-time processing,
Listen
Brandon.
To the first thing he said.
I love it. I love it so much. All right, take a turn to the hardwood. Talk some basketball. LeBron's recruiting Steph Curry to come join the Lakers. Do we love it? Do we hate it? Head to the City of Stars next. First things first. We will discuss it. Back here, first thing first. Guys, we have couples news. Alert. LeBron James and Steph Curry as possible future teammates. It's a solid maybe, Nick. Wrap your head around it. Brian Windhorst saying LeBron has started recruiting Steph to join the Lakers after his contract expires. That he's, quote, some doubt about whether Steph wants to stay in Golden State. Nick, you love or you hate LeBron reportedly recruiting Steph to join the Lakers? Couples news.
All right, so this is a little bittersweet. And it's bittersweet because once upon a time, this was supposed to be the next generation Magic-Larry rivalry for the NBA. In 2016, it looked like that's what we were getting. Unfortunately, LeBron ruined it by coming back from 3-1 down and playing the greatest 3 games in NBA history. Draymond then compounded it by crying in his car and calling Kevin Durant. And we never really got to see the full version of LeBron versus Steph. And then Klay got hurt. And now the Warriors look to be far away. And you do start to wonder, is Steph Curry going to want to finish his career there? There is one note, one thing, and I listened to the whole podcast with Wendy, that he didn't mention that I will mention here. And I'm sure Wendy knows this, he just didn't say it. Steph could have signed an extension this past offseason. He was extension eligible until December 21st, just a few months ago. It would have been 3 years, and what was it? 3 years, 157, and he didn't sign it. Now, the one he's eligible for this coming summer would be 4 years, 215. If he doesn't sign that, then this will become the overwhelming story of the next year's basketball season. And the question would be, will Steph Curry potentially join LeBron for LeBron's age or year 20 season, his 20th year in the NBA? At that point, would it be fun to see? Yeah, potentially. Is it what I'm rooting for? It's not what I'm rooting for, because I believe the Lakers are good enough to win the title without Steph. And I think adding a MVP to an already ready-made champion is too much. But Brandon, and I'll throw it to you on this, if you're right about the Nets, and while I don't think you're right, let's for the moment say you are, that the Nets are just going to, once KD gets back, they're going to roll through everybody. If they do all of a sudden look like the 2017 Warriors, then I think there's a lot of guys around the league that are going to be talking, do we need to come together to beat these guys? Now, I don't think that's how this is going to go, but if it doesn't go that way, I don't think this is a possibility. If it does go that way, the door to me is slightly ajar for it, Brandon.
And that's why I absolutely love this, because that's the only way they can compete with the Nets. We're talking about, I mean, KD, how many more years does he have left? James Harden, how many more years does he have left? Kyrie, how many more years do he want to play? So it could only be a 2 or 3 year window where we can see these teams go head to head. But Nick, they absolutely need to make a move like this, because they have their hands full out in the West with the Clippers. Yeah. I'm saying it right now. Like, let's not forget the conversation that we were having last year when Kawhi and PG-13 teamed up. We were saying that was the team to beat in the West. And then all of a sudden, global pandemic, racial tension soaring, and nobody wanted to go to the bubble. And LeBron, because he is one of the greatest teammates, one of the greatest leaders ever, benefited from that. Not in a way where there should be an asterisk, but because he saw blood in the water and he went and handled his business. But if they want to compete, they need to do something like this. And then, but it's more so about Steph Curry than LeBron James. When Klay went down this offseason, and that was one of the first things I wondered. Does he really want to stay there? Like, this dude still has a lot of basketball left. And even when he slows down, guess what, Nick? He can still sit out at the perimeter and shoot the damn ball. So does he want to stay out there? He has to ask himself the question, do I want ring number 4? Do I want ring number 5? Do I want to compete? Their run was remarkable, Wilds, but that window is shut. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, the two greatest shooters this league has ever seen on the same team. Insert Draymond Green and do what he does, like the Dennis Rodman of the team. And then you insert KD. It was phenomenal. We're not going to see that again. LeBron James and AD, they're not going to let you. They're not going to let you run that way anymore. The Suns are up and coming, and the Clippers. You think they're not going to sit there and throw money at the situation? Come on, please. Steph Curry has to ask himself, does he want to compete? If he wants to compete, then he shouldn't sign that contract, Wilds.
I'm glad. All right, I'm sorry. I just have to check my Fox Bet app. I put a large wager on the fact that you would mention the Suns, so I just came up big. Thank you, Brandon. It's the Steph Lakers conversation.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We can't mention the Suns on this show.
No, talk about Suns. I'm pro-Suns, buddy. Pro-Suns. All right, Nick, here's the thing. I think we just started to see some cracks in the Steph Curry will remain with the Warriors forever sort of dreamscape. I think that he's going to get tired of losing. I really do, and I love him hooking up with LeBron. When you go from champion, finals, champion, finals, then worst record, and now you're in 10th place. They're not a Klay Thompson healthy Achilles away from competing. Either someone needs to go there or Steph could leave. And I know you're saying like, but he was drafted there, he's so loyal. Well, there's only two guys, there's two All-Stars, and we tried to scan the entire NBA, but Dusty and I came up with two All-Stars, Dame and Steph, who are over 30 and have been with one team. Now, I don't think Dame is ever going to leave, although people try to pry him out of there. It feels like he's going to stay there. I don't think the same way about Steph. I think that he's going to look around like, you know what was more fun? Winning. And I don't want to cross sports here, but no one ever thought Tom Brady was going to leave. He was drafted there. He was built there. It's the most winningest franchise. He's like, you know what? This place can't win anymore. I'm out of here. It means more to me, to have another chapter on my career where I can win.
And listen, I know Warrior fans hate every part of this conversation, and they might hate this part the most. But when it was very clear, and we said it on this show when Warrior fans got mad, that they were no longer title contenders a year ago, even if Klay were healthy. Yep. And the moves they have made have not been the right ones. Trading for Andrew Wiggins was categorically not the right move. They drafted the wrong guy in Wiseman. Wiseman's a nice player. He is not LaMelo Ball. And now they are in this situation where if you look at their cap situation, I apologize for looking down, starting next season, Klay has 3 years and $120 million left coming off 2 traumatic year-long injuries. Draymond has 3 years and $76 million left, and Wiggins has 2 years and $65 left. They have no flexibility. They have no ability to get better in a substantial way. And I am interested in why Steph, if he was definitely 100%, because on the podcast with Wendy, Mark Spears said he's staying, and Mark Spears is up there and he's plugged in. He's staying. Well, if he's 100% staying, I'm just interested, Jenna, why he didn't sign the 3-year extension a few months ago.
Right.
You might say, well, that's because he can get an extra year and an extra $58 million. I don't think Steph is trying to squeeze the Warriors for $58 million when he's 37 years old. He could have signed this extension already and didn't. That, to me, is telling, Jenna.
But Brendan, let me ask you a quick question before we move on. Just quickly, you played for a bunch of different teams in the NFL. Is there a small part of you that maybe in hindsight wishes you had only played for one team, that the team where you started is where you did the middles, where you broke your records, is where you finished? Is there something to that, to maybe Steph saying, yeah, it'd be great to win, but it would also be equally as great to have spent my whole career at one place, which athletes just don't do anymore?
100%, and you just hit it on the head. Athletes don't do it anymore. But I would love that ended my career in Denver. You think about legacy, you think about those things. But that has changed. The narrative and the whole landscape of how we approach sports now has changed, Jenna. So the Steph Currys of the world, you know, these guys are thinking about, you know, do I want to compete? Do I want to continue to lose? Go back a couple weeks. What did we see him on the sideline doing? It wasn't pouting. He was screaming for help, like, please, let's win. I'm tired of losing. He's banging the clipboard on the side, right? So I think those things play, but it depends on what he wants, because nowadays we don't see the Dames of the world anymore in the NFL and the NBA.
All right, let's take a turn. Stay in the NBA, talk some NBA medals. All right, Nick, Jay Crowder's 3 sealed to win over the Hawks in the final minute for the Suns last night. Very clutch, but Crowder Just missing out on a medal. Nick, who we got today?
All right, we're going to go starting with the bronze as we always do. Kawhi Leonard. It was a tough night in the NBA, only 4 games, not a lot of great performances. Kawhi with 28, 5, and 5. Unfortunately, it was in a loss, a blown 7-point lead with 2.5 minutes left to maybe the worst collection of NBA players to ever field the court, the current iteration of the Orlando Magic. Not great for the Los Angeles Clippers, but Kawhi was quite good.
It's a bronze?
Silver medalist. He gets a bronze. Silver medalist.
Okay.
Gordon Hayward. Oh, you know who I think Gordon Hayward could really help? Now hear me out on this. The Celtics. Feels like he's just the piece.
I knew you were going to
missing.
say that.
He gave you 26, 11, and 6 last night for the Hornets in a win over the Wizards. And the gold medalist last night, Jamal Murray. The Nuggets get a nice win over the Joel Embiid-less Sixers. Jamal Murray, 36-4. He finally outdid Jokic. It had been a while since he did this. Michael Porter actually outdid Jokic as well, if you watch that game. So Jamal Murray gets your gold. Only 4 games last night. Not a ton of medals to go around. There it is, the medal stand for last night. What's Brandon mad about?
Nick, I feel like Jamal Murray. I feel like Jamal Murray shouldn't be up on the podium until he does it for 2 weeks in a row. Like what we saw in the bubble, where's that Jamal Murray? Like what's going on with Jamal Murray? It's like here's a good game, then there's let's give him 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we want to see it for 2 weeks.
He did it for 2 weeks in a row in the bubble against your beloved Clippers. That's when he did it for 2 weeks in a row.
Listen,
he'll do it for 2 weeks in a row.
I'm talking about this year. That was last year.
Leave Jamal Murray alone.
What have you done for me lately?
Killing Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, enjoy your gold medal.
Who just missed it, Wilds? Who just missed the cut?
Russ with the dunk of the night, but watch Devontae Graham here. Oh, Ismac Biyombo gets dunked on hard. Devontae Graham being a good teammate.
Oh my goodness.
You can get a look at it. He's like, wasn't that a tee? Watch, he tries to tee him up for either scowling or maybe hanging out. Like, can we tee him up? Like, I'm trying to be a good, like, please. I think that should be a tee, ref. My teammate getting dunked on that brutally. So good job, Devontae Graham, being a good teammate.
Goodness.
Slip that one in the suggestion box. Back to the NFL draft. Mac Jones putting his skills on display yesterday for Bill Belichick and company. So will he end up as the next guy under center in New England? Find out next. First things first.
The Universal Championship triple threat has reshaped WrestleMania, and Edge is more dangerous than ever. But how will Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan retaliate? It's an all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern on Fox.
I don't know how they're going to retaliate. I'm going to find out like the rest of us. Back talking pro day down at Bama. Quarterback Mac Jones thrown for scouts and coaches yesterday. One of those coaches, you know the name, you know the face, it's Bill Belichick, who after seeing that overthrow that we all saw yesterday, you know the one, there it is, it went viral. Belichick could be seen shaking his head. Can't say with 100% certainty what he's reacting to. Maybe he has asked, you want to go get tacos later? No, don't like tacos, but who knows? Either way, Patriots clearly on the hunt for a quarterback. Mac Jones rumored to be on their list. See if yesterday's overthrow changes their minds at all. All right, here's how we're going to set it up. We got former Pro Bowl receiver TJ Hushmanzada with us. You could talk tacos if you want, but it sure looked like Belichick was watching, might not have been happy. TJ, you think the Patriots need to draft a quarterback this year?
I believe every team that doesn't have a franchise quarterback needs to draft a quarterback. So, yes, the Patriots need to draft a quarterback. The question is, can they find a franchise quarterback at 15? And I just don't believe you can find that franchise quarterback. If you equate this quarterback class to the Michigan basketball team, the Fab Five, who's Chris Webber, who's Juwan Howard, and who's Jalen Rose? Because if you draft Jimmy King and what's the other kid, Ray? What was the other one's name? I can't. Ray Jackson. If you draft Jimmy King and Ray Jackson, are you going to be happy? And so when you look at this, 2018 was the last year where 5 quarterbacks went in the first round. And I think we can all agree that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are better than Baker Mayfield. So it's just a matter of which one. But at 15, I don't believe you're going to find a franchise quarterback. And so, yes, they need a quarterback, but I don't believe they're going to draft one at 15.
Oh, TJ, I don't know about that, man. I mean, answer the question. I do agree that they need to draft a quarterback because they don't have their guy. But this is a deep draft when it comes to the quarterback position. The reality is, man, you don't know who is going to be boom or who's going to be bust. Even Trevor Lawrence. Everybody want to talk about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is great. Trevor Lawrence is great. Okay, cool. But until he straps up those pads and put on an NFL helmet, I don't know who Trevor Lawrence is. You miss me with all the clips and stuff. And it's the same. I'm talking highly of Justin Fields. I'm talking highly when it comes to Zach Wilson, Kellen Moore, and all these guys. But at the end of the day, sometimes when you go from college to the NFL, it just doesn't translate. Like, that locker room is different. The pressure is different. So I need to see these guys in those huddles. But there are guys that can be sitting there at 15. You know, Mac Jones, everybody talking about the 49ers love Mac Jones, but he could potentially slide. You know, you got Trey Lance out there. He could potentially be sitting there at 15. Trey Lance, this is a dude that can ball. We haven't seen him a lot. We haven't seen him on a huge stage, but absolutely can go in there and get it done. And you got to think about Josh McDaniels sitting there. So you have somebody who is a master at the quarterback position, who's a master at understanding what you need out of the quarterback and what position you need to put them in so they can be successful. So I love the position the Patriots are in. And then you also know this, Nick, Bill Belichick, he can be savvy. He can move up, or he might just say, you know what? I don't like what I'm seeing right now. I'll just wait till next year. I don't think he's in a position where he has to do anything, but he's in a good position.
Well, if they don't draft a quarterback this year, you do wonder when will they? Because you know they don't hope to be drafting as high as 15 again anytime soon. They spent all this money in free agency to get back to the playoffs, and there typically aren't 5 quarterbacks projected to go in the first round. I understand that did happen in Baker's draft class, but that is the exception rather than the rule, and that 5th quarterback in Lamar slid all the way down to pick 32. I don't know if we can show the footage we were showing at the very beginning of this segment, not the overthrow and Belichick shaking his head, the other clip of Belichick, because I think he was standing there talking to John Lynch, and I feel like that really probably piqued my man Kevin Wild's interest, because who plays for John Lynch? If you let this play long enough, I think you'll see the beginning of Belichick there, and you see him look here. It's just going to be the same clip. That's all right. It's going to see Belichick talking to John Lynch. Here's what I know, Wilds. Here we go. You'll see it. You'll see Mac Jones for a moment, and then you'll see Belichick masked down, having a nice little conversation with, if I caught it correctly, that's John Lynch.
There we go.
Who's he run? He runs the Niners.
Yeah.
There's Kyle Shanahan. I wonder what they're chatting about. Here's the thing, Wilds. You guys either have to trade for Jimmy G, who I know you want to, or draft a quarterback, or you will be signing up for 2 straight years of potentially having the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. You will be Cam's shoulder tendons away from having not only no present at the position, but also no future, because obviously Stidham's not the guy. So you either have to do what you've been advocating for, trade for Jimmy G, or take the best available quarterback at 15, or else what is the plan to get from there to here would be my question.
Yeah, so I think there's a win now philosophy, and you saw it how we're spending in free agency. I don't think Bill Belichick is going to take on a project. I still think Jimmy G is in the cards. Here's the other weird thing, and I'll throw it to TJ. I don't know if Bill Belichick can draft a quarterback. And I know Tom Brady was always there, but he did take 6 guys before Tom Brady. Took Cliff Kingsbury. He's a great coach, not a great quarterback. Matt Castle, a great Kansas City guy, but he wasn't fantastic. Stidham can't get onto the field. Who else we had? Jacoby Brissett's okay. And Ryan Mallett, big arm out of Arkansas. I loved Ryan Mallett. I was trying to talk myself into Ryan Mallett. Got some run with the Texans, but again, not great. So the question for you is this, TJ. Do you think Bill Belichick, who has made his career with the 199th pick of Tom Brady, thinks that he needs someone special, like, let's say, an Andrew Luck, a Peyton Manning, a Mahomes, like, boom, you draft them and they're ready to go? Or do you think because of his success with Tom Brady, that he can mold a guy, that he can build a guy, that he can turn the 199th pick into the GOAT quarterback?
I don't believe he thinks he can turn a 6th or 7th round pick into a Tom Brady, but I truly believe Belichick is a guy that is telling himself, we don't have to draft a quarterback in the 1st round. I can find one in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round that can be our franchise quarterback. Dallas Cowboys did it with Dak Prescott. I've done it with Tom Brady. I can do it again. And so I don't see them drafting a quarterback at 15 because, once again, Bill Belichick, I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Yeah, look, they have options, all right? And it's not about Bill Belichick. It's about Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels turned down gigs, the last 3 years? He could have been a head coach. He sat there. Why? Because he believes in the Patriots and the Patriots believe in him. Let's go back to 2010. Who did Josh McDaniels trade Jay Cutler for? Right? What ended up happening? Kyle Orton. And Kyle Orton came in and lit it up. So you got to think about Josh McDaniels and how he processed things. Yeah, they can go get a Jimmy G. They can go get a quarterback. But I just believe they're so big on themselves that they feel like this Patriot way and their system is going to put guys in the best position to win. So they know they got to go get a quarterback, but they have options, whether it's Jimmy G, if they think that's the guy, or if they think it's, in the draft. But we do know you got to have a quarterback in this league to compete, Jenna, and you also got to play good defense if you want to win championships as well.
Back here with NBA champ Antoine Walker. All right, Twan, let's talk some Kawhi Leonard. Reports out there that he could be headed to Miami this offseason. Yes, he just got to the Clippers in 2019. Yes, he came to bring them their first ever title. But Antoine, you joined Miami later in your career. LeBron made a stop in Miami. The Golden Girls have always been in Miami. What are the chances Kawhi leaves the Clippers for the Heat this offseason?
I think this is totally different. I think when you think about Kawhi Leonard, he's the one guy, I think, in the league that enjoys competing against LeBron James. If you remember a couple years back, he could have joined the Lakers. I mean, LeBron actually went out to him and wanted him to join him in L.A., but he chose to go to the other team in L.A. I also believe that Kawhi does not want to leave L.A. When you go to Miami, the commitment becomes totally different. Pat Riley's going to make you practice. They're going to have a list of demands. It's not going to be this. You get days off. You're going to have to practice and compete every day, and it's a different program down in Miami. So I don't think that's something that he would want to sign up for at the point of his career. Would it be a great move, him and Jimmy Butler? Probably so. They probably would be able to compete at a very high level in the Eastern Conference. But for him to leave the Clippers and go to Miami, I just don't see it happening. I just think Kawhi has too much competitiveness in him to compete against LeBron James. It may not be against every other player in the league, but for some reason, I don't think he wants to team up with LeBron James. So I don't think this can happen at all. And the commitment that the Heat are going to put on him as far as his demand on his body to work out every day and to playing games, I don't think Kawhi Leonard was going to want that.
Well, the reason this is a story is because before Kawhi recruited Paul George to join him, he recruited Jimmy Butler to join him, and Butler chose not to. And it's also a story because Miami kept their, let's call it, options open by not making the move for Kyle Lowry at the deadline, instead getting Victor Oladipo's on expiring contract and keeping all of their young assets, most notably Hero, Precious Achiuwa, and of course Duncan Robinson. So that's why this is a story. The other reason this is a story is because it is a very real possibility that the Clippers flame out again. And I know Brandon doesn't think they will. I do think they will. We'll get to see it in the playoffs, whether or not they will, right? But that's why this is a story. This is a story because
I'm just laughing at the flame out part.
Yeah, well, I think they flamed out last year, and I think they will again. I don't think they will lose in respectable fashion. I think the Clippers are more likely to lose until last night when they lost to the G League Orlando team, because shockingly, when you don't hit 45% of your threes, it's tough to win games. But that's neither here nor there. The point is this. Antoine was right. Kawhi signed up to go to the Clippers, to go home, and to compete with LeBron. So what if once again his team loses before they even get to LeBron? You don't think he's looking around? If they go, right now they'd be playing Denver in round 1. Could Denver beat them in a series? Well, they did last year. So if they were to lose in round 1, Brandon, I think Kawhi is surveying his options. I do think that.
Listen, first off, zero chance. He just bought a home out in L.A., outside of L.A., okay, $18 million home, yep. Beautiful home. He's not going anywhere. He's from L.A. Until Steve Ballmer and his relationship deteriorate, he's not leaving. So this is an idiotic conversation right now. Here's the deal, though, Nick. You're talking about Kawhi. Kawhi, this is what's going to happen. If they lose in the first round, all he's going to do is go shake his hand and say, LeBron James, great job. That's it. Last year is a different year. We're talking about a team that didn't want to be in a bubble, a team that didn't want to play together. They got rid of those guys. This is a different situation. There's no more load management. There's no more lack of leadership. Kawhi is standing up and doing the things that we all said he should be doing. So if they lose as a competitor, Kawhi is going to go and he's going to shake their hand and say, you know what, I'll see you guys next year. But right now we're looking at a team that just started, a 9-game stretch, home game stretch, and that could potentially be in first place come mid-April. This team is a really good team. If they lose, then they're going to lose the right way. Last year, they lost the wrong way, and we all crushed them, rightfully so.
So Antoine, do you think, I'll build on that, Brandon. Antoine, do you think that if they win the championship, Kawhi stays? We all agree on that. But do you think in the manner in which they lose matters to Kawhi? Because it feels like there's a lot of pressure on the Nets to win. I would say there's even pressure on Giannis to win. I don't know how much pressure there is on Kawhi to win. It doesn't feel like anyone's outside of Brandon really thinks that they have a shot at the championship. It doesn't feel like they're in that upper echelon. Do you think there's a tremendous amount of pressure for him to win?
Well, I think it's pressure, especially from the Clippers organization. Obviously, they probably would love to sign Kawhi back because of the things that they gave up to get Kawhi and Paul George. I mean, they basically leveraged their whole future. That's why Paul George got the contract that he got. But I think for Kawhi Leonard, I think one thing that he likes to do is compete. And the reason I say that is LeBron won a couple titles in Miami. So that's why I really believe he don't want to go to Miami. He doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of LeBron. He is one of the few guys, I think, in this league that enjoys competing against him. I think he wants to compete against LeBron in the Western Conference Finals and see if he can beat him, with him being the main guy on the team. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not sold completely on the Clippers team. I put them in the pool of the Portland Trail Blazers, the Utah Jazz, a bunch of teams that's in there.
What?
But right now, with LeBron and AD being out, of course they should feel confident that they can win the Western Conference. But they're in the pool with a team about 4 or 5 other teams. They're not there yet. They're not there yet. When
you said the same thing about the Nets. You said the same thing about the Nets a couple weeks ago.
No.
And then last week you come on the show and you said, Brandon, you've convinced me. You said that, what was it, last week on the show? You said, Brandon, you convinced me. And now you're saying the same thing with the Clippers.
No, I say you convinced me about James Harden, how good he's been playing. I've been said once the trade was made, and I believe that the Brooklyn Nets were going to the Eastern Conference Finals and had a chance to win the NBA title. I said that once the trade happened. But James Harden is doing a terrific job. He's up for MVP. He's playing great basketball. But it remains to be seen if they can win a title. But right now, they look really good. I haven't jumped on that bandwagon completely yet. But I have said is James Harden is starting to look like that MVP guy.
Okay. Well, Antoine, you were right about everything you've said so far today until that part's wrong. But we don't have to get into the James Harden MVP thing. All right. So, Wilds, to be fair to Brandon definitely is not the only person that thinks the Clippers are going to win the title. They currently have the third best odds. They've got the third. It goes Nets, Lakers, Clippers, if you want to go bet them. They have better odds than than the Sixers, than the Bucks, than the Jazz, than the Suns, than anybody else. So somebody, it's not just Marcellus, Brandon, and Clipper Darrell, somebody believes in this fraudulent team. Now that's throwing money away. But the fact of the matter is We can't retcon how this team was built and what it was built for. It was built to win immediately. They have no draft picks left. They have one young player in their rotation in Terrence Mann. They just traded for Rajon Rondo. That's not a look to the future move. That's a we have to win right now move. And if they lose in round 1 or 2, which is to me so much more likely than them winning the conference, what Kawhi Leonard is going to be looking around and saying is, all right, next year we have committed, what is it, $50 million to the foursome of Patrick Beverley, Luke Kennard, Rajon Rondo, and Marcus Morris. We have no draft picks. We have no young players. Paul George is on a super duper max, and I have a choice to make. And so I know he wanted to be in LA. I know he loves living in San Diego, and now he has the house in LA as well, and all of it. But Kawhi Leonard is a competitor. Kawhi Leonard is here in theory. He's not here to do commercials. He tried that run, and the New Balance marketing team killed him. And all of it. And so he's here to win basketball games. And if the Clippers end up looking like the 7th best team in the NBA after 2 years together, I think Kawhi Leonard's going to be evaluating all his options, and Pat Riley is always ready for it.
Back to the NFL draft now. We're about a month out. One of the few near certainties at this point, that guy right there, Trevor Lawrence, going #1 overall to the Jags. He's currently training with former NFL quarterback Jordan Palmer, who is currently joining us right now to break all of this down. Jordan, say good morning to you. And let us start with Trevor Lawrence. What is it that you've seen up close in person about this kid that makes him just a generational talent?
Well, I think most of his career has been pretty well documented with the amount of big games and exit Deshaun Watson, who's really a legend around Clemson, going to back-to-back national championships and winning the last one. Entered true freshman, 18-year-old Trevor Lawrence, and for him to come in that early and have the success that he did, so much of what he's done has been before all of our eyes. But I think you got to factor in something, and when I look at him, I always factor in something that I don't know that I've seen in anybody else. And there's a couple guys that are close, but it's just the amount of franchise NFL quarterbacks, so the stuff that those guys go through, the moments and the pressures that he's already been through in the last few years. You know, Brandon, some of you guys on set know that NFL quarterbacks, franchise guys, they go through different things than other players, other positions, other coaches. And Trevor, to step into that role that he did as a true freshman, and then the last 3 years, and I even go back a year before that, and I look at him as when you're the #1 recruit of kind of the decade, so to speak, and the target on your back, all the eyes on you 24/7, when you sum it all up, I say that Trevor has 3 or 4 years of franchise NFL quarterback experience before he even gets to the league.
Wow.
And I haven't really even said a word about him as a player yet.
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold. These are guys that you've trained, you had for a couple of months, getting them ready for the draft, preparing them for sitting down with general managers, owners. So you're saying Trevor Lawrence is at the top of that list?
I'm saying Trevor has had more experience of what it takes to play an NFL quarterback. I think he's had 4 years. Compare him to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I think, had 2 nationally televised games in college, right? So to the things that you got to go through to get you ready to play in the league. I mean, Trevor's 86-4 between high school and college, and he's had all eyes on him for 4 years. So just the stuff that it takes when you're the face of college football, the way that Trevor has been, the way that Sam Darnold was not for 2 years, and Josh Allen never was at any point. And Joe Burrow got hot his senior year. I'm not comparing talent or skill sets. I'm just comparing exposure and experience to what it's going to take for them. And I think that actually Trevor in Jacksonville, the moment and the bigness and all the stuff will probably feel smaller than it feels to be the face of college football the last 2 or 3 years.
So Jordan, first off, what I should have opened with is why my jersey's not behind you, because you told me a couple years ago I was your best teammate, your favorite teammate ever. And all I see is Allen, and I see what? I don't see it. I don't see it.
It's a square.
No, that needs to be my jersey.
I'm missing a piece. That is literally for you.
That needs to be me.
Your game room in Miami.
All right, here you go. Back to Trevor, okay? Hot topic right now. Trevor, big name. So what's that one thing? Everybody has that one thing. Mahomes has that thing. Aaron Rodgers has that thing. Tom Brady has that thing. If you can pinpoint one thing, what is it?
I think Trevor exudes this feeling that everything is all good. And he did it as a kid at Clemson, as a true freshman, getting thrown into moments. And he's just always, if you talk to his teammates, we talk to coaches, just everything is always under control. And Brandon, you know how important that is in the league. And he's got all the physical tools, right, too. I mean, that's the stuff we all see, but the stuff that not everybody sees, but teammates see, coaches see, and guys like myself who just spend time with them see, is that everything is completely under control at all times. And I think that is a very, very unique asset, particularly when you're going to be asked to play early in this league.
Everyone obviously knows he has all the arm talent in the world, all the arm talent you can have coming out of school, and he showed it at Clemson. Is it fair to say, do you think he's a little underrated as an athlete? He's big, he's strong. I feel like his neck is wider than his ears, which is always a good sign that a guy can take a hit. Like, do you think when going in this process, he has been underrated a little bit as far as what his athleticism is?
You know, there's just so many opinions out there from the media, from fans, and the access to opinions is such easy access that I don't really know what people I don't know what the consensus is. So I don't know if he's under or overrated. But I know the way I look at it, because I'm a coach, is what does he currently have right now that translates, and then what are the things that need to be introduced or exposed to that will help him in his process from going from amateur to pro. And so I just think with this guy, again, the experience that he's had of not just the games and not just the wins or not playing at a big school, but just the body of work from high school to through college, the amount of eyeballs on him for this many years, I just think that it's as ready as we've seen in terms of a guy to transition from the amateur quarterback to the professional quarterback.
Yeah, looking forward to that transition. Let's move on to another quarterback, Jordan, that you've worked with, Sam Darnold. So the latest report out of New York says the Jets might keep Sam, might also draft a quarterback at number 2 overall. So instead of one or the other, it would be one and the other, clearly. Jordan, from what you've seen up close, can Sam Darnold be a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, I almost laugh at the question, and no disrespect, I get the question all the time from every angle, but this guy's like 23 years old and was drafted 3 years ago and was probably, I mean, we all thought he was going to be the number 1 pick. And the way I look at it is the only thing that's changed. So I'm much more confident in Sam's ability to be a franchise quarterback than I was during the draft. So I have gotten much more confident in Sam's abilities than 3 years ago when he was going through the draft process. And it's really clearly why. Up until the draft, he had never really dealt with real adversity on the field or off the field. We all have dealt with adversity in our own lives, but I'm just saying as a football player, never had a devastating injury, never had multiple coaching changes, never had a ton of adversity we had as a college guy. Now he has 2.5, 3 years of that under his belt. And if you look 2 years ago, one of the worst offenses in NFL history, how terrible the Jets were, and they ended 6-2. And then last year, seeing ghosts and all the stuff and all the chaos there, and they go almost 3-0 at the end. And so if you look at a guy, and I've been on teams where the quarterback quit, or key players quit, threw in the towel, or kind of over it. So to watch this young man have all the things that he has from a physical skill set and talent and all that, and then be able to weather the storm. And last year they couldn't block, they couldn't get open, they couldn't play defense, and their coach is apologizing for how they handled the kid. I mean, it's unbelievable. So my confidence in Sam Darnold is much higher than it was 3 years ago.
So I don't want to talk about the Jets, but I just want to talk about Sam Darnold's sort of narrative. I feel like it's good to have you on and sort of cheerlead for Sam Darnold, because I feel like he's gotten a raw deal. That if he was in this draft and if he had a pro day and he was the highlighted good throws that he had were out there more in the media, people would be talking more about Sam Darnold, but instead it went the other way. Do you think that he needs a fresh start, or he would benefit from a fresh start, or it's better to have the continuity of at least going back to the Jets?
Well, I mean, first off, we're talking about pro days. Ironically, I conduct pro days, but just that the way we talk about pro days and highlight it right now. I mean, Sam's throw last year in a game is better than any throw I saw on a pro day this year. Rolling to his left, hitting the receiver, going left to right. So it's ironic.
Oh, Wilds love that throw. Don't bring that up, Jordan.
What's that?
Don't bring that up. Wow, Kevin loves that play. He keeps showing it. He showed it 10 times this week already.
Here it is. There it is.
Talking about Sam's throw or Zach's throw on a pro day?
Sam's throw. Sam's throw against the Niners.
Yeah. So, I think with Sam, everything still translates for him. I mean, he's still really mobile in the pocket. It's just funny to me. Nothing's changed other than he's dealt with some adversity here and is a little bit more seasoned going into it. A fresh start, it depends on what the fresh start is. The grass is not always greener everywhere else. Certainly I can't speak on behalf of what, Sam wants, but Sam, I know, is a guy who wants to finish what he starts and he wants to complete things. All I can say about Sam is last year during COVID, we got thrown into a weird spot where we didn't know how much longer we were going to train and when they were going to leave and if OTAs were going to happen. And so basically for about 6.5 months, I watched Sam Darnold literally not cut a single corner, not show up 15 minutes late, not leave 10 minutes early for something. He went 6 days a week. I used to train with Carson Palmer and Drew Brees and guys in the offseason, and I just watched Sam Darnold have an offseason basically as, 24/7 as you can be in an offseason. So from a work ethic standpoint, the thing that no one talks about and isn't fun to talk about, he is actually one of the most committed football players I've ever been around in my life.
Okay, Jordan. All right, let's stay right here. That was one throw against the 49ers. I stood up out of my chair when I saw that throw live. Loved it, right? Jets fan, big Jets fan. Okay? You talked about the adversity. All right, he's dealt with that the last 3 years. I do believe, you as a player, you got to be in the right situation to thrive and to be successful. I don't believe he's been in a perfect situation. He's been in a terrible situation, if we want to be honest. This is your baby, one of your babies. Oh, yeah, right, I agree. So this is one of your babies. I'm assuming that you have him again this offseason. What is the thing that you guys are working on outside of all those things that you already talked about? Where can he get better?
Well, I think across the board, efficiency is the key with all these guys. And so I've spent a lot of time with Sam. And that's one of the things about Sam and all these guys, Josh Allen, is just isolating one thing. And everything is really looked through the lens of efficiency. And so we look at it from a movement standpoint and from a throwing motion standpoint. And now we've got some cool technology out here, and I'm able to measure a lot of things and turn them into 4D and isolate those things. So, Sam is incredibly athletic and has a really strong arm and a really quick release. So it's really about, the NFL is so much about moving short distances quickly. College is about covering a lot of ground. Guys will roll all the way over there and set up. But the NFL, it's very short distance and subtle movement. And Tom Brady, the way that he's playing right now at his age is because he's mastered that subtle movement efficiently. There's no wasted movement. And so I think with Sam, but with all the guys, that's kind of that key focus right now, or at least for this part of the offseason, April, is working on efficiency.
All right, Jordan, we got to be really quick here. You got to give me a quick answer. And I know you as a teammate, you like to talk a lot. Be quick here, all right? And you've been in the locker room with me. You know I can get real messy. You think you're going to come on this show and I'm not going to get messy? Please, give me a quick answer really quick. What does the Jets do at number 2?
I have no idea what they do, but I have no idea what they do. I know they have a franchise quarterback there right now that part of them has to love, and then there's some really, really talented quarterbacks in this draft.